We have here something that can be very helpful to some people. Now, we have here, very simply, a lesson plan. Now, anybody in teaching knows all about lesson plans, right? Everybody knows you got to have a lesson plan. Well, I thought for one tonight, we better kind of not make it too complicated, okay? And this one is for preschool. Think we can handle it? All right, well, it does get complicated. It says materials and preparations, buttons, glue, pencils, 55 magnetic shapes. Then now we're into a little heavier. Learning objectives, explicit instruction, teacher modeling, guided practice, interactive modeling, independent working together, review. Well, it can get complicated, can it? Just to teach something. Well, in our gospel, Jesus offers us tonight a much simpler lesson plan. He tells us that we share his message by what we do and how we live, not just by what we say. Now, the religious leaders of his time, the scribes and Pharisees, well, they didn't do this. And Jesus talks about them, and he says, don't follow their example, for they preach, but they don't practice. They tie up heavy burdens hard to carry and lay them on people's shoulders, but they won't lift a finger to move them. And all their works are performed to be seen. And very simply, what Jesus is saying is that we share the message of Christ by how we live and what we do. Very simply, the scribes and the Pharisees didn't practice what they preached. And Jesus says to us, it can't be that way with you. You preach my message or share that message by how you live and what you do. And talk about it if it's necessary. Jesus quite simply said, we have to show people what Christ was talking about. And remember that Jesus, when he taught, he also was curing and feeding and comforting at the same time. The message comes from what we do. Now, the scribes and the Pharisees, well, they were fast to put the law of God and made it much more important than the people who were trying to follow that law, who were just trying to do the best they could. And because they made this mistake, they added to the people's burdens who are trying to find God in their lives rather than help them. What they did was just add to the problem. Didn't offer any help at all. And it can't be that way with us. And finally, he says, you know, the scribes and the Pharisees, they do what they do because they want to be seen doing it. And they want praise from people. They want to be congratulated by what they do, or what they do. Jesus says, Can't be that way with you. Your reward comes from God, not from other people's praise. Our reward comes from God, not the praise of other people. And remember, Jesus spent much of his time when he was spreading the message. Who did he spend it with? Well, the blind, the sick, the cripples, those that were regarded as sinners. And the very last time he shared the message, it was with the thief that was hanging on the cross next to him. Our reward comes from God. Maybe an example will help. A young man that I have known all his life, really, is in the Justice Center jail over here, a block away, facing some very, very serious charges. And when I was talking to him the other day and asked him how he was doing, he said, one problem here is that there's nobody I can really talk to. Can't talk over things with them. Because most of the people here are just here waiting to get out and go back doing what they were doing. But he said, there is one older man here. And I know that I can talk to him. And that's really helpful. Well, I know the older man he was talking about, and I know him to be a very good person. And he could really just offer some good, helpful advice to this troubled young man. Now, if people who are locked up in jail can perform simple acts of kindness, helping, and caring, certainly the rest of us can do the same thing. So let's just resolve tonight now to try and perform each day just one extra act of kindness, patience, just caring for someone when we wouldn't ordinarily do it. Something extra. So as we continue on now, getting ready to share in the body and blood of Christ, let's ask our God for the help and the strength we need to share Christ's message by how we live and what we do.